hello, and welcome to MarkTwainZephyr.com, also our Facebook and Twitter pages at Mark Twain Zephyr. I'm Robert Tabor, Director of Passenger Development for the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad, and thanks for stopping in for another update on our restoration of the Mark Twain Zephyr. It is Sunday, the 13th day of December, 2020, and yeah, behind me, this is the kitchen area of the Huck Finn. For this week's update, let's start out with our operations manager, Nick, who, because of the nice weather, the crews have been actually able to start on the Mark Twain Zephyr track, which will house the train.
Hey guys, Nick Turinetti, Operations Manager for the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad, and again, still temporary track foreman until we kind of get back into regular operations down here. And today we are working on laying out the Zephyr track. And what the Zephyr track is basically, once the trucks that go underneath the Zephyr are rebuilt and ready to go, we need to be able to put it back on its wheels. And what better way to do that than build a track that's specifically meant for where the Zephyr is going to essentially be kept and maintained when it's not out on the railroad offering rides to people. So what we've been doing, you may remember a couple months ago when we were laying out the new alignment off the depot, we installed a switch, and then the switch was just sort of left hanging into nothing. It just dropped off into dirt. Well, now that we've finished our mainline ballasting project, and we're kind of closing in on the end of our track work season, you know, it starts getting too cold up here to be able to do a whole lot.
You've been pretty lucky here, middle of December. No
Yes,
snow
we
on the
have.
ground.
Yes, we have.
I just want to say that
it was 40, something like 45 degrees yesterday, which is almost unheard of in early December up here. So,
yes.
Once things freeze up, it really becomes difficult to do much of anything. So we're kind of using these last few days that we have to try and get this track laid out as quickly as possible. And so, like I mentioned, the eventual goal for this is in the spring. Once the trucks are completed, we'll be able to lift each individual piece of the Zephyr back onto its trucks, and it will be on a track where it's out of the way and can continue to be worked on and prepared until we're ready to actually reveal it and have people come and take a ride on it.
So. Okay, so is that, you think spring to summer would be when it would actually be back on the trucks potentially? Or?
The goal is to try and have things done with the trucks by this spring, and I think that spring probably means like May, June at the earliest.
Yeah, well, that's spring. So, so what are they doing today? What are they doing up here this weekend on the track? They're actually just building it then? Or?
Yeah. So actually, what we've been doing over the past couple days is. It's a little different than how we normally do it because we're a little bit confined. As you can see, we've got, the regular excursion train and like the parlor car and other stuff on the track right next to the depot, and then the Zephyr is up on blocks, and we're laying a track in between the two of them.
Okay. Does that make it more difficult than what you were doing earlier this fall and summer?
It's more confined, so you have to be careful about what you're moving around, and we have to kind of do things a little bit differently. Instead of just being able to lay out ties and then come alongside and set the rail, onto them, we actually have to lay out ties and then lift up the rail, slide the rail up, lift it up, and set it from the far end. There's not enough room to come in from the side with our skid steer, and we don't really feel like trying to get 5 or 6 guys to lift a 600-700 pound piece of rail into place. So it's a little bit different in terms of how we approach it, but essentially it's gone fairly well.
Nice.
When we lay out track, what you essentially do is you lay out your ties, you set your rail. We like to bolt the rail together, so we've got a little bit of flex with it, and we can get it aligned where we want it. And then you measure out 18 inches off of the end of the tie, and that's about where you line up the edges of the ties, and then you spike that rail. That's your set rail, and then you use a gauge to line the other rail up to 4 feet 8.5 inches, and you spike that.
So this will be the Zephyr's own. This will be the Zephyr track where it will. So it'll be one track away from the depot is where it'll basically be sitting. If you're familiar with our location up here in Trico,
basically.
just one track toward the highway.
Yep.
All right.
And
how long is this going to take? Are we going to wrap it up this weekend, or are we going to do some more probably all next week? Or?
Again, it'll all depend on the weather.
I think it's supposed to be pretty good. I heard. I don't know.
Well, cross fingers. It's also sort of the time of year where it's not easy to find ties anymore.
Oh, okay. So that's a challenge.
We've been reusing the best ties that were left over from moving the track over on the right of way.
All right.
So we have to physically go out, retrieve them, then bring them back here, set them in place. So
okay.
Essentially though, I think our goal would be to try and get as much of it as we can laid out before we just have to move on to other things because of the weather.
Perfect.
But
well, maybe we'll check in with you again next weekend and see what progress you made.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Catch you guys later.
Thanks so much, Nick.
And let's send it to Bob and the Tom Sawyer, who has put in some light fixtures earlier this week and is now starting to work on the windowsills.
Wow, a lot of changes to the car since a week ago. First, I guess, let there be light. A week ago, those were just sitting in the closet, right, on the ground.
Yep.
So we have power to the car.
Sitting in a closet like some people I know.
Oh, okay. And what are we? So we have behind you. We have the panel, the lighting panel.
These will all get hung up in there and aiming down in one direction. There's gonna be a piece of oak trim underneath here with lenses cut into them, dropped into them. Working on the sills, the rounded sills.
I noticed that you were doing the windowsills. Is that pretty hard to do with the curve of the car, or do you just kind of do your measurements?
Curves usually ain't hard to do, but each window is a little bit different, and they're not perfect radiuses.
Oh, okay.
It varies. Some are, it varies a lot. So, but.
And then what do you have back here? You were showing me earlier. This was a piece that can go up there or go down there?
Well, the tops get capped.
Okay.
And I just use
so this will be the back windowsill right here? That
no,
piece?
this ain't the windowsill.
Oh.
This here is what I use for the top.
Oh, that'll go in the top window. Okay.
And the top, because once the sills are in their side pieces that go on there, on top of the sills, but I can use this for a template to make my windowsill.
Oh. You think this will be a table back here?
Yes.
Of some sort?
This will be oak.
Oak table. So kind of match the windowsills that we're doing.
Yeah, and then there'll be oak underneath here, and then there's a trim piece of oak that'll go all the way across here that'll tie all of that together. By next Friday, all of this will be done. Stained varnished and trimmed out.
You are setting your holiday timetable very tight there.
Yeah, and then this side should be pretty
so by
much
the
done.
18th, huh?
Yep, by the 18th. This
Okay,
side will be done.
so we'll check in with you by your last update of the year next Friday. He's promising even more to be done in the car.
Well, what about the Friday after that?
Well, you're gonna be here on Christmas Day, Bob?
Oh yes,
I
am.
Okay. The cameraman might not be. So what are you doing down here with these heavy saws?
Oh, with what?
These saws or?
No. They're sanders.
Sanders.
They're saws.
They're saws. I know that much.
We're cutting all of the wood for our sills and our trim pieces.
Okay. How long does it take to get all the windowsills done?
Actually, I got 2 days to roughen in them sills.
And I like how you really connect right here so that they go all the way around.
Well, they're going to be now all of the edges. The insides are done now. All these have to be sanded, rounded. There's a lot of sanding involved yet.
But it'll be nice, big enough you put your drink right there. It's kind of what our thought was.
The sills on the back side there are going to be larger because this seating, I do believe here, is going to be different.
This will be kind of standalone chairs.
Correct. And on the other side, the way the seating is set up, we're building the windowsills larger.
Okay.
Just to incorporate them as drink holders.
Oh, okay. Can we see what's going on the other half?
Whoa.
Is that where Phil's at?
That's where Phil. Phil will give you an update down there.
Oh, all right. Let's see. So okay, next next Friday there, Bob says it'll all be done. So let's see. Let's go in here and see what Phil's been up to. And it looks like Phil's got the vacuum cleaner. What are you doing in here, Phil?
I'm dusting it. We'll be painting next Monday.
So they're talking about the windowsills. We got to see them in the other half of the car. So you're cleaning out all the dust and debris that might be now in the window here. And so he's going to put larger windowsills in, I guess, here because we're going to have some of the swivel chairs and things like that.
Sure. Somewhere to put your...
And it looks like you guys got all the paint scraped. Did you? Did that yesterday?
Yesterday and today.
Okay. And the windowsills will go in next week? In here?
We got a coat of primer and 2 coats of paint.
Well, before you can put in the windowsills.
Right.
Oh. Why does that have to be done first?
Because we don't want to spatter paint on those nice oak windowsills.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's the scoop from the Tom Sawyer.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob, for that update. A lot of work will be going on next week before the holiday is here. So we'll have another update for you next weekend on MarkTwainZephyr.com, also our Facebook and Twitter pages. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you next week with another update as our crews work really hard up here.